Have you ever considered that every time you make pancakes or you make anything, that you can learn something different about the process? Maybe it's the consistency of the batter, the temperature of the griddle, or how long to wait before you turn them. Do you also take the time to understand what you learned from other actions that you take? Every Friday, we use this episode to share what we learned from our topic of the week. So today, we'll discuss what we learned from this week's topic, making pancakes, and more on this episode of today's Antidote.
Stay tuned for today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's Antidote features a healthy dose of thought-provoking insights and information for business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and nonprofit professionals. Each day since March of 2020, this program has offered that one thing to help you continue on your own unique pathway to success. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
Hey, Tom.
Good morning, Bob. How are you today?
I'm good. It's a dark, dreary, rainy, icky day, but hey, you know what? I figured I'd wear the hoodie today.
Okay, that's one way to look at it. As you know, those adjectives are things that I try not to use too much of unless I need to, and that would describe it.
And part of the country is getting pummeled by snow.
They are enjoying the beautiful flakes that are coming down, making an amazing landscape of their day.
Mr. Optimism, ladies and gentlemen.
We have a choice how we look at things.
We
correct?
do have a choice. I'm not embracing the choice the way I could.
That's okay. That's what's real for you. I'm not saying that everybody has to embrace it the way I do, and everybody has to disregard adjectives. It's the way I'm trying to focus my life for a little bit. So good morning, everyone, and welcome to this edition of today's Antidote, our daily podcast and broadcast, where we have a conversation around the topic. And this week's topic, as you may have heard in the opening, is making pancakes. And today we'll discuss our discoveries of the week. Everything okay there?
The light just flickered. It got dark for a second.
For those of you listening to the podcast, Bob just started looking to the ceiling, like something weird was going on. And so that's why we paused. Just want to keep you all in the loop of what the heck was happening. And if you're listening to the podcast,
thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much. And we would like to ask that if you'd be willing to rate this podcast, because the more it gets rated, and we'd really love you to rate it. How, Bob?
I feel like the right answer is 5 stars.
Maybe that's the real answer for you. Maybe others feel like it could be, but the guy with the glasses and no hair, but that kind of explains both of us. And on the podcast, nobody would know that. So that's it. All right. Anyhow, let's get back to that.
They have a look for radio. That's
correct. We would love for you to not only rate our show, but we'd also enjoy it if you would share it with others. It's a great way to share value to people who you think might be looking for it, and a great way for you to connect and engage with others. So we would love for you to do that. And if you have thoughts about it or comments, or at the end of our show, we'll share our one thing, our today's antidote. Actually, we're not. Sorry. I keep forgetting that on Friday. We're just going to share our discovery of the week. So if you have a discovery of the week talking about making pancakes, we'd love for you to go inside our Ring of Renegades Facebook group and share it. Make a comment. If you happen to be watching this and you saw Bob look up, you understand why I did what I did. And we'd love for you to include your comments, thoughts, or ideas as the show goes along, because we know the value that it adds and provides to others. And at the end, if you have a discovery that you would like to share, please feel free to do it. Because whether you're watching this on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or
LinkedIn Live,
whatever you share will make a difference not only for our discussion, but also for others who are trying to find their own unique pathway to success. So with that, let's dive into the thing we do every morning. First thing is our celebrations. Bob, what are you celebrating today?
I'm going to celebrate the choice you just presented me with a couple minutes ago, whereby either I can look at today and go, it's dark and dreary, or today's a great day. I sometimes forget that choice. and you pointed it out to me, and I'm thinking about the weather in a different way.
Fair enough. And you can choose to have it be dark and dreary. That's all right.
That's it.
Sometimes that's the way we feel as well as the way it is outside. And so there's nothing.
I think movies make
That's
us feel
okay.
that way. Have you ever noticed that when the bad stuff happens in a good romantic comedy, it's raining?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, they use that very subtle thing, like dark and dreary and sad, and it's raining.
Fair enough. All right, I'll have to look for that now. Something
You
new.
will see it again and again.
I can't think of a movie right now to have that process with. But that's
Watch
okay.
one Hallmark movie this weekend, and you will see it.
Well, the only thing guaranteed about a Hallmark movie is the 20 before the hour. The couple will have issues, and they will sort of separate.
The first hour or the second hour?
The second hour.
Okay.
Second hour. Yes. And then within about 3 or 4 minutes, they'll be back together. So it'll all work out just fine.
I could say so much, but I'm going to leave it there.
Fair enough. So today I am celebrating.
Yes.
I'm actually really excited about today. I am going back to do my first in-person meeting facilitation in probably 5 or 6 months. Clearly, the pandemic has had in and out impact. And I don't think since the summer have I had a chance to be with a group in a room to help them figure out their next steps this year within the plan that they've created and how they make sure that it is as effective and efficient as they can make it. So I'm excited about that opportunity.
Sweet.
And Bob, what are our Renegades celebrating today?
Well, it's National Postal Carrier Day, but I want to broaden that a little bit because it struck me that postal carriers, sanitation workers, landscapers, firefighters, police officers, a lot of people, and I just hit a couple. There are plenty of other fields, work out in the field in all sorts of weather and do the kind of work. I've got some moving I have to do some stuff today, and it's pretty rainy, and I was lamenting that and saying in my head, like, this is not, boy, I wish it were sunny and warm, and it's warm, but it's not sunny. And so it strikes me that there are people that the weather is not a factor in what they do in their day. They go out, and if it's snowing, they work. If it's 120 degrees in the shade, they work, and they don't complain about it. They deliver on what they promised, and postal carriers being one of them.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's no doubt that it is a different experience when your entire job is outside. That is, you have to be prepared. And I will join in that celebration because as a lacrosse official,
I was going to say,
sometimes you are out in weather that is not so bright and sunny. Let's put it that way. And
you got games coming up in a week or two. It could be really cold.
Yeah, I'm supposed to be, I think, in a scrimmage tomorrow and a game Sunday that we'll see. Tomorrow I heard that the weather's supposed to be like under 20 in the morning. Yes. So that'll be fun.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
Don't get hit by a lacrosse ball is all I can tell you.
Yeah, I only had that happen once. Oh, that was a bad experience.
I bet.
Because it was one of those times where, and sometimes I'm going a little off topic here, but it was something that I learned. It was a discovery that I made. Was typically I expect.
Way to bring it back. That was good.
As I'm watching passes, you sort of have a feel through the game, like, okay, what's the skill level and how aware do I need to be? And a lot of times I'm not really, especially passes that are like going over my or like across my face or over my head. I really don't pay that much attention to them because the skill level, especially the skill level, I'm like, all right, I'm not really in the way. Yeah, I'm close, but it's not going to be. So one tournament day when the skill level was a little down and the weather was a little bit like today, a ball went over a girl's stick and I was 5 feet behind her. It was not a lot of fun. Not a lot of fun. And
wrongly hit you.
It kind of hit me in like the thigh area. It was not great.
Oh,
it was bad.
Did you go down?
No, but I started off because it was the end of a long day in my head cursing the player. And then I got to the point of, you idiot, you need to get out of the way. So I didn't want to linger on someone else.
I love the evolution of thought.
Yes. And the fact that it was cold out made it even worse. So anyhow, enough about that.
That was a great story. I enjoyed that one a lot.
It is a great day to celebrate those people who have to work outside and do the work that many of us would choose not to do. So thank you for that. So now let's dive right in. Now that we made that little discovery of an issue I had on the field, let's talk about making pancakes and what we discovered this week. You want to kick it off, Bob?
Sure, I'll kick it off. I think what really struck me over the course of the week as we broke down how we developed the app and the pre-app process was how strategic we were without thinking that we were being strategic. You know, it's really interesting to me that now we can literally break it into 4 units and say, we did this, we did this, we did this. At the moment, when we were doing it, we were just trying to figure out a solution to a challenge that we saw. And I think that's one of those things that if you're looking for that perfect formula, maybe it's already there inside of you. Maybe it's just, I want to get from here to here, and I need to figure out what that looks like. And I'm going to find my way, whatever I need to do. And maybe it's building an app. Maybe it's a new idea that you have to present to your team. Maybe it's a new product or service, or maybe it's getting rid of a product or service. I was talking to someone yesterday who's trying to get rid of a product that is very popular, but because of supply chain issues, they just can't get the parts for it anymore. And so it's in their catalog, people are ordering it, and it's backlogged, and then people are upset because it's backlogged, and it's like, we can't deliver that anymore. That's a hard thing to deal with. That's a hard thing when the customer expects you to be able to do something. And I think that's part of that setting the stage part that we looked at, the first pancake yesterday. And how can you help people understand, rather than just sending out the notice that says, we're not doing this product anymore, calling your customers that you know bought 10 of them, bought 50 of them, 500 of them, and saying, hey, just want to give you a heads up. You're going to see an email come out tomorrow and the next day. Here's what the email isn't really telling you. We've sourced like crazy. We can't figure this out. And it just, we can't make it work. I'm really sorry. I know you were counting on us. We'll try to figure out a solution for you, but we just can't do this anymore. And that's a hard call to have, right?
Sure. Oh, of course. Well, and it's a hard one to receive as well. I mean, I got noticed that when I'm as you may know, I have these flavored drinks that I have. And one of my all-time favorite flavor, I recently got news that was going out of stock, that they were no longer going to carry it. And I'm like, that's kind of frustrating.
And it reflects on the company, right?
It does. It does for a while. I mean, I think at some point we learn from it and then we replace it with something else, and then that becomes kind of the new standard. And I think the challenge is, and you talked about it briefly, was not sharing the why. There was no explanation of why this was the case, when it would have been helpful if they'd said, people just don't seem to be buying it.
Right. It's not one of our top 20 sellers.
Correct.
And we've got to trim things. Sure. Yeah.
Or, there's a part of it that, the formula isn't exactly the way we want it to deliver what we say we want to deliver. This is why this has to go out of. I think so often if we did that, and I think that goes back to, this isn't my discovery of the week, but it was one of my favorite conversations of the week, was about the griddle and figuring out the griddle. And really the griddle signified, what are we doing to prepare people, prepare our audience, prepare our customers, our clients for what we are about to deliver, so that we make sure that they are aware and that the griddle is hot enough to accept what we are bringing to it. And I think that was just an interesting conversation for me about, and one of the things about just that part of the process. And I think it can be easy to skip over, and we just throw it out there without letting anybody know. And it can also be the piece that delays us from putting our ideas, thoughts, concepts, products out there, services, and I think if we always feel like, well, not everybody knows, so I need just to keep putting the message out there that it's coming. This is what it's going to do. Find another group of people to share it with. And, eventually there's that fine area, the fine line somewhere in the middle where you're able to do that. And I think if you start to think of it as your first pancake and that there will still be changes to come, it makes it easier to decide that, okay, I've done what I can do in the moment or in the time frame I've set. Let's see what happens. And again, knowing all of that, how does that impact what your expectations are on the results can make it easier to just say, okay, great, here it is, and let's go. So that was an intriguing conversation, I thought.
I like that discussion too. It reminds me, as you were talking about, over the last year and a half, I've been running a board. I'm president of this group, and you're on the board with me. And I think I naively went into the first couple of meetings thinking I could present an idea at the board meeting, get people on board with my idea, and they would endorse it. And Bob had a great idea. What I learned very quickly was the only way Bob had a great idea was to talk to every single person on that board in advance, understand their individual concerns, and integrate those where they needed to be integrated so that I could present something that said, I talked to all of you, and here's something that came up 3 or 4 times. I wanted to make sure that we address that up front. So because of that, I proposed this. Because of this, I proposed that. That process is really the same thing on a team. And I never realized how critical that is. And we see it at all levels. And I know I've worked with teams where the leader wants to do something, and I'll say, okay, who are the 3 people on your team that really can carry the weight here? And really, if they understand this in advance, they're going to support you and the others will follow them.
Sure.
And I think that's a different griddle than we were talking about. We've been talking about this app and this entrepreneurial griddle, but it's the same in a workplace. If you're working with a team, you can't just go in at 5:00 Friday. Hey guys, let's change the way we do billing next week.
Sure. Well, I think
we all have tried it that way.
Oh, no doubt. And I think one of the beauties of talking to others, one is you're preparing them, but 2, you're also sort of throwing out your first pancake. It's like, hey, I haven't shared this with anybody, but this is something I'm considering. And you get their perspective and their feedback, which allows you to say, that
not as
one
tasty
little
as I thought.
that didn't hit, or that one little piece didn't hit the way I thought it would. One of the things we've started doing is when we do presentations, we first share them with one another to get feedback. To be like, okay, this is what I'm trying to achieve. How is that going? And I think that whole process and really, what are those? They're first pancakes.
Yes.
For us to say, hey, it's not the full thing, but it's like, here is a little bit, and we get, and that doesn't mean we catch everything, because everyone comes into it uniquely.
And nor does it mean you can't make changes later.
Correct.
I would hate for someone to think that this whole first pancake idea is you do all your changes before you launch something or release something. And then, hey, I made the first pancake, get over it. If it doesn't work, too bad. You're constantly adapting.
Absolutely.
But what I see over and over is the stuff that you learned in that first pancake often comes back, even if you discount it at that phase. Later on, that came up about 2 months ago, and we kind of discounted that. I didn't realize that was really important. Like, but being able to pay with a credit card for this thing is kind of critical. I didn't think that was the case. I thought it was going to be this way.
Sure.
And we see that all the time. I've seen it with websites where we built, I helped build websites, and they would expect a certain path of the customer, and the result would be completely different. And they'd be like, well, that's not what we wanted them to do. It's like, it's not what you want them to do. It's what they're doing.
Sure.
If they're clicking on the button at the bottom of the page, hey, at least they're clicking on the button. No, we want them to click on the top button. I'm sorry, they're going. At least they're clicking on the button. Let's celebrate that they're clicking. Let's not. And then it's like, well, if we remove the bottom button, will they click on the top button? So in one case, we tried that. The clicks went down, not up. And it's because the people wanted to see all the information. And after they had understood exactly what they were getting into, they would click at the bottom. At the top, you're just winging a prayer.
Sure. Well, and I think that's the part of it, right? And the beauty, or I think the challenge is, we think that we're eventually going to get it right. That's going to be perfect. And that everybody is going to.
If I can, Tom, sorry to interrupt, but perfect being in a state where we will never have to alter it, right?
Sure.
That once it hits that, I think most of us think of this as it's going to get to a place where we don't have to care and tend it anymore. And I think one of the things we've discovered through the pandemic that's probably going to profoundly affect all of us is that things that you thought were carved in stone, not so much. We can't do this job from home. We can't get the supply chain to go a different way. We can't ask our customer to make this concession to us. And now we've learned over the last 2 years, yeah, you can. And if it's something they're interested in, and I think that makes it even more potentially scary to someone because you're constantly developing. The first pancake could be the 18th pancake all over again, right?
Sure. Well, and I think that what's interesting, I think, is that there is a difference between, yes, we can deliver it this way, and that being the most effective way to deliver it for everyone. I would think the schools are a perfect example. They had no idea what they were going to do in the pandemic. And
sorry. Yeah, I got it breaking with Danny's comments. These are good. Such a great point, Bob. Thank you, Danny. That's all we need. Let's close the show right there. Now, griddle all your relationships. Warm them up before you serve that pancake. Love it. Then Danny adds, this is what made me laugh. Griddle your people, but only after you grill them. Maybe they want waffles.
Yep, absolutely.
And that's an important point, right? If the people you're working with or the people you're serving, you're making pancakes, but they're expecting waffles, that's a big difference.
Certainly. Yeah, I mean, that's part of really understanding. And as Danny says, that you got to at least understand that you need the griddle and not the waffle maker. That's an important differential. And I think that's, and I think you can, I think one of the challenges is that we have to really continue, as you said, evolve and understand what happens. The school systems went through this thought of how could we ever deliver the services that we want to educate the students? And they discovered that they could, and that was possible. And they found ways to change it throughout this time. And I think what they also discovered is while we can, that doesn't necessarily mean that is the way we want to do it and that others want to receive it. And so what's beautiful about that is they can go back when they're able to go to in-person learning and still adapt when there are issues, because, I remember when I was in school, I had mono and I was out for 6 weeks at that time.
Wow.
It was a million years ago. And so
were you kissing too many girls?
Must be at age 12. Yeah. I think that was.
Well, what else did you have to do up in upstate New York?
Fair. And, while I knew I couldn't go to school and somebody sent home, my work was sent home and I would do it and send it back in. It would have been nice if I could have zoomed in to at least see and connect and engage with my classmates and my teacher. And so I think that the opportunity to do that is a great learning tool. And we also learned that may not be the most effective way for students to really grow and develop. So I think, you are, as long as we are always learning, because there could have been the theory of, why do we need school buildings? We can deliver this all virtually, and let's just do that and save that space and save bus transportation and be done with it. And I think that could have been an assumption that came out of the early stages, or probably the middle stages of, why do we need to go back?
I also think that technology, I've been working on a book for us and the Renegade Workplace. And I've really been looking at technology and its role. And I think technology brings us closer together, and it forces more first pancakes because people are getting access to information. They're able to go to a website and compare your products or services, to look at your job postings against other job postings. in a way that I was thinking, 30, 40 years ago, when you applied for a job, you would look in the newspaper, see a little ad, and you would base your application on that. If you were really fortunate, you knew someone, and you'd be like, so what are they looking for? Now, I can pretty much know almost anything I want to know about a company, its structure, its organization. I can go, if it's big enough, to Glassdoor and read reviews from employees about what's good and bad of it. And so we start to have so much information that first pancake, I think it's become more acutely sensitive in the process than it might have been in the past.
Sure.
Does that make sense? I don't know if
I think you're able, you have the ability to gather more information than you were at the beginning. So that changes what the batter looks like. Might change how, it definitely changes how warm the griddle is. In a lot of sense, in the past, when you couldn't gather that information, unless you knew somebody that you could talk to them, you were going in with a cold griddle and you were hoping that the batter would figure it out. And I don't know that I think that has changed. And still, if we assume that all the information that we can gather on the internet is all we would need to know, we're likely going to realize that's not necessarily the case, because there is much more.
But it could be too much information, right?
Sure. And it might be outlying information.
Yes.
You read a review and somebody says, whatever, they're sharing what's real for them.
And they may have gotten fired, or they may have been a poor fit. Yep.
Right. There might be other issues that are going into there. So I think it's time about, what is your discovery of the week?
I think it's the importance of that first pancake.
Okay.
I really didn't see it as important as it is until we walked through it so much this week. And that first pancake is an opportunity to discover more about what you're ultimately trying to do. It's not just heat the griddle, throw it on. All right, the first one's done, in the trash, and then let's do the second one. It's really, okay, the first one's cooking. It looks good. Oh, wait, it's bubbling too fast. Oh, I smell smoke. Oh boy, that thing's starting to burn. Instead of going, well, I burned the first one, let me put another one, more batter, and we'll try again. It's what did or didn't I do that's not moving in the direction I want to move it in.
I like that. What, mine is, and I shared this, I think it was yesterday, that, we need to keep making first pancakes. And as we were talking about it this morning, I got thinking about, and that was kind of going to be my discovery, until you said something this morning that got me thinking about, isn't everything really a first pancake? If, because what we do differently on the second one, whether we flip it earlier, we add a little more water to the batter, we add a little more powder to the batter, we turn the griddle up or we turn it down, isn't that really a new first pancake based on what's real at the moment? And I think that goes back to our idea about things are real, not right. Is that every time we make some little modification, or we go through the experience of having done it once, we now look at it differently. And so now that next attempt is really the first attempt in this new way. Does that make any sense?
Yes, it makes complete sense.
And
yes.
So I think that, one of the beauties is, if we keep making those first pancakes, we are always looking at, how is it different? How is this having a different impact? What are we learning? And I think that might be the key piece of it, is that keep making them. It's always a first pancake, and that allows us to keep learning and considering what went well, what didn't go as planned, and what might we do differently.
And Tom, good news. We're coming back next week with more talk about pancakes, right?
We are. I don't remember the topic, but maybe you do.
I do not. I could certainly tell you if I take a second.
You figure it out, and I'll start to wrap up the show.
All right.
So everyone, thanks so much for listening this week. If you have a discovery of the week or discoveries of the week, you want to share multiple, please feel free to put them in the comments, whether you're watching this live or you're watching this on recording. or not recording it, you tape delayed or whatever. I don't know how you describe that within Facebook, whatever that is.
On your Betamax.
as a post that you click on later.
Your cassette recorder.
One of those things. Please feel free to share it. If you would prefer to share it inside our Ringer Renegades Facebook, that would be great, because it is a safe space. We've created a space, a private group, where you can come in and share those things that you might be struggling with or that you want to celebrate. Tomorrow morning, we'll be talking about our celebrations of the week. And sometimes people don't want to share those outside of a community where they feel supported, appreciated, and sort of understood, or at least with people who are willing to understand. So we hope that you will do that as well. We look forward to seeing you inside the Ring of Renegades Facebook group, or we might see your activity. If you want to download the Renegade Success Network app, it's easy to do. Just go to Google Play or the App Store on Apple, and you can download that and find out a little bit more about what we're talking and see the results of the first pancake. Actually, it's probably now on the third pancake, as we've made changes and additions, and so you can check out our pancakes.
More of them yesterday, right?
Yes, indeed. And I think it will be an ever-evolving thing, which I think is the beauty of making those pancakes. And if we don't see you in either one of those, we'll see you Monday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern time, for our next edition of Today's Antidote. Have a great day, everyone.
Hey, embrace the renegading you, and thank someone who's working outside today. Even if it's the perfect day where you are, thank them for being out there doing the job in all weather.
I like that, and I'm going to take advantage of that. All right, everyone. Have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday. Thanks for listening to Today's Antidote, powered by the Renegade Success Network. The Renegade Success Network helps you confidently create your own unique pathway to success. To learn more about the Renegade Success Network and how you can take your next step, follow us on Twitter, connect on LinkedIn, or join the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. For full details on how you can join our community, go to renegadesuccessnetwork.com. Embrace the renegade in you.